Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Kerry. Today I'll be showing you how to crochet a face scrubby. I've been asked at work to make some for a project we're working on, so I thought I'd just show you how to make one. I'll be working 6 for each pack for work. Now the size of the face scrubbies are 6 centimetres or 2¼ inches diameter. I'll be using Scheepjes Cotton 8 for this one, but I have been using up just small amounts of cotton I've got left over. I've got a 3.5mm crochet hook, a darning needle to weave in the ends, and scissors as well. Now I wanted these stitches to be quite bulky, but I also wanted them to be a taller stitch, so I've worked a mixture between a puff stitch and a cluster. Now we'll start in the centre of the circle, of course. Now I'm going to start with a magic loop, but you could start with 4 chain and join with a slip stitch if you'd prefer. Now there's lots of ways to make a magic loop, so make it how you feel most comfortable. I just put my hook on the yarn, bring the short end over the hook and then the long end over the short end to make a circle. Then yarn around the hook and bring my hook with the yarn at the end through the circle. We start with 3 chain. Now we're going to do a 2 treble puff cluster to start. A treble is a double treble using UK terms. Now we put the yarn around the hook twice, hook in through the circle and bring up a loop, then yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops. We've got 3 loops on the hook. Then put the yarn around the hook twice, hook into the circle and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops. We've now got 5 loops on the hook. Put the yarn around the hook and take the hook with this yarn at the end through all the loops. And then we close our stitch with 1 chain. Now we're going to work 7 3 treble puff clusters into our circle with 1 chain between each. For a 3 treble puff cluster we put the yarn around the hook twice, hook into the circle and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops. We've got 3 loops on the hook. We put the yarn around the hook twice, hook in through the circle and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops. There's now 5 loops on the hook. We put the yarn around the hook twice, hook in through the circle and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through 2 loops. There's now 7 loops on the hook. Then we put the yarn around the hook and take our hook with the yarn at the end through all the loops. And then we work 1 chain. And we need 6 more 3 treble puff clusters into our circle. So just work the same as this last one. Now that's my 7 3 treble puff clusters. I've just closed that with a chain, and I've got 8 clusters in my circle. So I pull the circle tight, so I take hold of this tail and just ease it in as tight as I can, and we join with a slip stitch in the top of the first cluster. So just in here we put our hook into the stitch, bring through a loop and take it straight through the loop on the hook. For row 2 we start with 3 chain and we work a 2 treble puff cluster in the same place as our join. So that's the same as we did for the first cluster on row 1, and then we work 1 chain, and then we're going to work a 3 treble puff cluster in the next stitch. We're going to be working in the top of the clusters and in each chain. We'll have 16 clusters, so the rest of our clusters will be the 3 treble puff clusters, and we'll have 1 chain in between each. And then we'll work a puff cluster into this next stitch. And 1 chain, and then a 3 treble puff cluster in the top of the cluster, and then 1 chain and a 3 treble puff cluster into the chain, and we just work around like that. Now that's my 16 puff clusters. I just work a chain at the end and join with a slip stitch in the top of the first cluster. For row 3 we start with one chain and we're going to work one single crochet in the same stitch as our join. A single crochet is a double crochet using UK terms. For a single crochet, put your hook into the stitch, bring through a loop and then yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through the loops. And we'll be working one single crochet in each chain and in the top of each cluster. So just one single crochet in each. Stitch around. And then join with a slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. And that's the first 3 rows done. If it was big enough you could leave it at that if you'd like, but I'm going to do an edging around mine. Now for row 4, our last row, we're going to work a crab stitch or reverse single crochet in each stitch round. We start with one chain and instead of going forward we're going to go backwards. So we put our hook into the stitch before our join and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through the loops. So stitch in the stitch before and bring up a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn through the loop. So we were just working single crochets going backwards. And I'm not going to slip stitch in the last stitch. Once I work the last stitch, I'll just fasten off. And when I weave in the end, I'll just weave it into the back of that last, well, the first stitch I worked. So that's the finished scrubby. I'll just weave in the ends and I'll be back to show you a set. Now there's a set of 6 face scrubbies. If you've liked my video, please like, subscribe and share. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest and Patreon. The details are in the description below, along with the details of my website where I have my patterns and the details of my Facebook group. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.